Here's a fun fact for you. Did you know that witchcraft was legalised in England in 1735? Well, kind of. That was the year of the Witchcraft Act. Under this act, witchcraft was no longer punishable in law. Instead, the crime was to falsely claim to be able to perform magic. In 1951, the law was clarified further. Witchcraft was fine for the purposes of entertainment, but to make money from it for any other purpose would be classed as fraud. Of course, some would argue that any claim to be able to practice magic whatsoever must ipso facto be fraud, but I don't know, that sounds like the sort of suggestion that could get a fella turned into a newt, so you didn't hear it from me. All this is very interesting, but what does it have to do with the underground? Well, for that, we're going to have to go to Camden. Now, these days, Camden is known for its eclectic shopping scene, its music and clubbing, and for the giant robots that occasionally rampage around and destroy everything. But it has a dark secret, and it all centres on Camden Town Station. You see, back in the 17th century, this was, legend has it, a witch's cottage. This was the home of Ginny Bingham, better known as Mother Redcap, or Mother Damnable, or the Shrew of Kentish Town. In the interests of historical completeness, I should point out that some accounts place her cottage over the road at what is now the World's End, but was formerly known as the Mother Redcap. I favour the tube station sighting because it gives me an excuse to make this video. One thing just about everyone agrees on is that she was not in what we now think of as Kentish Town. Back in the day, Camden Town didn't really exist. Kentish Town was the nearest sizable village. So, who was Mother Damnable? Well, as you might imagine from the nickname, she was not known for her pleasant temper, and in time this gave rise to malicious rumours of witchcraft, especially since her parents had been hanged for that very crime following the death of a young woman. In her younger days, she associated with, which I think was how they said was seeing back in the 17th century, a sheep-rustling gentleman simply named as Darby, who disappeared under mysterious circumstances. Naturally, the rumour spread that Mother Redcap had a hand in his disappearance, although let's remember that it wasn't exactly difficult to disappear in those days. And even back then you needed some fairly decent evidence before you could hang someone for a witch, so if Ginny did have a hand in Darby's disappearance, there wasn't any evidence to convict her. Apparently she also caused, or was present for, the disappearance of a number of other young men, but details are sparse and one suspects embellishment. More concrete is the case of a man named Pitcher, another associate of Mother Damnable, who also disappeared but was subsequently found. Or at least parts of him were found in her oven. Well, this was a little harder for Ginny to talk her way out of, and she was tried for murder. However, she was acquitted when a witness came forward and testified that Pitcher was in the habit of hiding in the oven to escape Ginny's abuse. I mean, when you're so good at dissing people that they'd rather Hansel and Gretel themselves than deal with your insults, that's almost magic. At the very least, you have a glittering future in stand-up. While Mother Redcap may not have committed any actual crime, her acquittal wasn't enough to silence wagging tongues, and rumours of witchcraft clung to her for the rest of her life. Any misfortune in the local area was liable to be blamed on her. But, otherwise, the world was content to shun her, and she became something of a recluse. But she made up for it with her death, which was related thus in the pamphlet The Extraordinary Death of Mother Damnable. "Hundreds of men, women, and children were witnesses of the devil. entering her house in his very appearance and state, and that although his return was narrowly watched for, he was not seen again, and that Mother Damnable was found dead on the following morning, sitting before the fireplace, holding a crutch over it, with a teapot full of herbs, drugs, and liquid, part of which, being given to the cat, the hair fell off in 2 hours, and the cat soon after died, that the body was stiff when found, and that the undertaker was obliged to break her limbs before he could place them in the coffin, and that the justices have put men in possession of the house to examine its contents. This account may be somewhat exaggerated. So ended the strange tale of old Mother Damnable, or Mother Redcap, or the Shrew of Kentish Town, or Ginny Bingham. Was she a witch? Was she a murderer? Was she just a misunderstood woman? Was she even real? Certainly there are no concrete records of her existence. There are no dates associated with her birth or death beyond the 17th century. Some think that old Mother Damnable and Mother Redcap were two separate people. Some think that this was just a corruption of the story of Mother Shipton or Mother Blackcap, who may also have lived here, and may also be fictional. When it comes to folklore, reality and fiction have a tendency to overlap. So next time you're passing through Camden town, remember old Mother Damnable. Can you smell the sulphur? Hi all, thanks again for watching this weird episode of Tales from the Tube, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, let me know with that thumbs up button, and if you'd like to see more, hit subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you again soon. Cheerio!